Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're jumping right into one of the most epic, mind-bending stories of human endurance ever recorded. We're talking about the story of Job. It's a deep dive into this incredibly complex idea of holding on to your faith when you are going through unimaginable suffering. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of the text, I've got a question for you. Think about this for a second. What happens to faith when you lose absolutely everything? Yeah, it's a heavy question, right? But it totally sets the stage for the incredibly high stakes of the journey we're about to go on.
So here is our roadmap for Job's rise, fall, and ultimate redemption. We'll hit Chapter 1, Job's wealth and righteousness, then move into 2, the ultimate test begins, 3, suffering and steadfast faith, 4, God's majestic response, and finally 5, restoration and final lessons. Let's get right into it.
All right, Part 1, Job's wealth and righteousness.
The sheer scale of Job's life at the start of this story is just staggering. I mean, the text makes it crystal clear that he wasn't just, materially comfortable. His entire status quo was deeply rooted in his absolute devotion to God. And flowing from that righteous life was a massive family, a huge household of servants, and just immense possessions. Basically, his life was the ultimate picture of complete, unshakable stability.
But then we hit Section 2. The ultimate test begins. Literally everything changes with this wild heavenly challenge. Satan actively targets Job, and his claim is that Job's devotion is entirely transactional. He's basically saying, hey, he only serves God because he's so heavily blessed. So in response, God actually allows Job's faith to be put to the test. This massive cosmic wager becomes the catalyst for all the devastation that follows.
And the text really emphasizes how fast this catastrophe strikes. It's like a domino effect. In this horrifyingly short window of time, his massive wealth is completely wiped out. Almost immediately after that, his servants are lost. Then, moments later, comes the most devastating blow you could ever imagine. He loses all his children. And if that wasn't enough, later on, he's personally struck with these agonizing sores. It's just a rapid, total, systematic dismantling of his entire world.
Which brings us to Section 3, Suffering and Steadfast Faith. So now, Job is in the absolute abyss of his suffering. He is stripped of literally everything we just talked about. But here's the craziest part. Job completely refuses to curse God. Instead, he says these astonishing words. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Wow. Talk about a stunning display of resolve when you are facing total ruin.
Naturally, faced with a tragedy like this, human instinct kicks right in. Job's friends show up, and they try to rationalize the senselessness of it all. They genuinely believe Job must have harbored some kind of secret sin to deserve this level of punishment. But Job's stance is completely opposed to that idea. He just remains faithful. He keeps seeking God, and he flat out refuses to accept that his suffering is just a punishment for some hidden flaw.
Moving right along to Section 4, God's majestic response.
After all this time, the silence finally breaks. God actually speaks directly to Job. But, and this is absolutely key, instead of giving Job some simple, itemized explanation for why he was in pain, God reveals the unparalleled scale of his greatness. He shows off his deep cosmic wisdom. And witnessing that sheer magnitude, it shifts absolutely everything for Job. He completely humbles himself. He realizes he just has to trust God entirely, even without having all the specific answers he was looking for.
And that leads us into our final chapter, Section 5, Restoration and Final Lessons.
Because Job successfully weathered this massive trial, the text lays out a really profound restoration. First off, his physical health is entirely healed. Then, he is blessed with a completely new family. And his wealth? It's returned to him. But here is the kicker. It goes way, way beyond his original state.
This restoration wasn't just a simple return to his old baseline. It was a literal multiplication, 2x. The text is actually highly specific about this fact. Where he previously had, say, 7,000 sheep, he now has 14,000. To put that into perspective, God literally grants him exactly twice as much as he had before these trials even began. It's just an incredible turnaround.
So what does all this actually mean for us today? Well, there are a few core takeaways. First, it kind of forces us to acknowledge that God is in control, even when our own trials make absolutely zero sense to us. Second, it completely redefines true faith. It's about trusting God through every single storm, not just when life is comfortable and easy. And ultimately, it shows that remaining faithful is what positions us for restoration, for blessing, and for a much deeper, authentic relationship.
I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought to chew on. Are we only trusting when times are good, or are we truly prepared to remain faithful through the storm? It's a huge question, and it challenges the very nature of what unshakable faith really looks like. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer today. Keep seeking, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.